your lungs, your heart, your rib cage, your intercostals, your diaphragm, your thoracic spine. All of these play a big role in making sure that you can breathe and that your heart functions properly. Heart disease is the number one killer in the Western world. What does that mean? That means that we are too stressed. Now there are different reasons for that. There is psychological stress, there's physiological stress. Today let's deal with the physiological stress. The physiological stress on the heart comes from two areas. The intercostal muscles, the muscles in between your costals, which is your ribs. Costals, ribs. Intercostal, between the ribs. And there are two sets, one on the inside and one on the outside. These two sets of intercostal muscles contract and release from a parasympathetic response triggered by the basal brain and the vagus nerve, where they do this all day, every day, from the moment you are born to the moment you die. 30% of your breathing happens from the intercostal contraction and release. The other 70% comes from your diaphragm. Your diaphragm attaches from here, the bottom of the sternum, the xiphoid, all the way to from the lower ribs, all the way to the back to T12. This diaphragm is again programmed by an infinite intelligence to lift and drop. When it drops, you inhale because nature abhors a vacuum. And when you exhale, the diaphragm lifts. So when the diaphragm lifts, you exhale. Now these two sets of muscles, the intercostals and the diaphragm, if they are not pliable, if they are not elastic, if they are not mobile, they become tighter and tighter. That is why you see old people hunching up. Is the diaphragm becoming tight, the intercostals becoming tight. That's why they can't breathe anymore, and therefore they get heart problems, because the pressure of these muscles compresses the thoracic cavity. It presses on the pleural membrane, it presses on the lungs, and the lungs in turn press on the heart. So, we have to learn in the practice of asana how to open up the intercostals and how to release the diaphragm. And I'll show you one very simple asana to do it. It's called pranayama posture, where the kidneys, which are sitting at the bottom of your rib cage, are supported, and then your arms drop off to the sides, like so. The head should be slightly higher than the rib cage, should be higher than the pelvis. So it's 3 stages. Legs and buttocks on the lowest phase, entire rib cage on the bolster, and head on the 3rd stage. Entire rib cage on the bolster. When I teach this, I see students who are halfway up. If the bolster is too high, your lungs actually collapse. So the bottom of the lungs, that's why I said the kidneys have to be supported by the bolster. This is a very effortful pose because you have to actually shut your eyes and relax. And I'll point out with the pointer what's happening here. So you see here, right here, from the xiphoid, out the bottom rib cage, the diaphragm. Because the pelvis is lower than the rib cage, it's pulling the organs away from the lungs, which in turn creates a very gentle traction, suction on the superior and inferior regions of the diaphragm. That means upper and lower. This, of course, softens the diaphragm. Additionally, because of the lift of the bolster, it allows an opening across the front of the chest. Remember that the intercostals pull towards and away the rib cage, the ribs themselves, towards and away from each other. So when you're like this and you're spreading, the intercostals are lengthening and their tension is releasing. in the studies done in Russia and the studies not done in India, because we didn't do studies, we just did experience, 20 minutes is the magic number. When you lie like this on your back for 20 minutes, you reprogram the muscles from a state of tension into a state of relaxation. So the response from the musculature is sustainable to the next day and the next day only when you've done it for 20 minutes. If you do it for 2 or 3 minutes, you'll feel good, but then you won't get the effect the next day. So to make the effect last longer, you have to do the pose for 20 minutes. That was what my teacher B.K.S Iyengar taught me, and that's what I have taught around the world for decades, at least more than 45 years. This is the action that will release your diaphragm. This is the pose that will release your intercostals. This is the pose that will also release the tension in the back of your neck. You see, the back of your neck has a slight traction. That slight traction releases tension in the pons, in the medulla oblongata, and thereby in the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve goes into the lungs. The vagus nerve goes to your heart. The vagus nerve goes to your diaphragm. The vagus nerve goes to your digestive system. It's a very important nerve. It's the only nerve that's not in your spine. Vagus means wandering in Greek, so that, or is it Latin? But the whole point is that the vagus nerve is not part of the central nervous system. It wanders and goes around. It's a huge nerve and a very, very crucial one for this response, the parasympathetic response of relaxation, of releasing tension in the diaphragm. So as you're lying on your back just now and feeling this, relax your chest. Let your shoulders drop towards the floor, opening up the upper intercostals. Feel your abdomen softening. Feel your arms and legs becoming heavy. Turn your gaze downwards to look into your heart center, which is the home of your spirit, the anahata. And let gentle breathing overcome your body. If you find that you can't feel the breath properly, there's tension, take a few deep inhalations. And deep exhalations. Doing this deep breathing will help reprogram the breath to say, that's how I want you to breathe. I want you to feel the freedom in the breath. A few deep breaths, 3 to 5, and then you go back into relaxation. The only thing you have to focus on in relaxation is the release of tension. So as you're lying on your back now, release the tension in your body. How do you do that? By putting your mind into your legs, imagining your legs, feeling your legs, and then exhaling, let them drop into the earth. Visualize them dropping. Do the same with your arms. Do the same with your belly. Do the same with your throat. In a few minutes, a quietude will descend upon your nervous system. and you'll start to feel more relaxed and simultaneously more open. This is an absolutely wonderful pose to release tension in your diaphragm, in your ribcage, and thereby to create a release of tension in your lungs and in your heart. Once you practice it, you'll actually feel the pericardium releasing. The covering of your heart, the sheath around your heart. The heart is a precious organ indeed, because it has neural tissue in it as well as muscle tissue, which means the heart holds memories. So this is a good opportunity right now to start to exhale out not only tension in your body, but also tension in your nerves, what we may loosely call heartache. When you have had betrayal, or when you have had a broken relationship, or when somebody you love dies, your heart remembers. And now on the exhalations, release that memory, that heartache. You won't lose the memory, but you will lose the pain. So as you exhale, let that go. Pranayama posture is an opportunity to access that inner heartache and to release it from your body. Use the breath. As you inhale, let the inhalation go into your heart. Feel it becoming full with breath, and then as you exhale, feel the tension, maybe some darkness coming out of your heart, coming out of your breath and floating into light, leaving you a little less burdened, a little more relaxed and refreshed. And for today, we'll end now, even though it's not been a full 20 minutes. You may continue to stay in this. If you choose, but otherwise slowly exhaling, bend your knees and then roll over to the right and get up. You can remain here, let her relax. Those of you who are seated, bring your hands to Namaste. With a humble brain, bow your head and may you be blessed with health, wealth, and happiness.